What does it mean for a character to have a role to play in an RPG? Well, in a lot of games, the role the character plays has something to do with niche protection. One character can take a lot of damage and swings a big melee weapon. One character is the weak wizard but with powerful magic. And then there's the dexterous ranged attack fighter and the supporting cleric. But what if you instead want to protect the narrative niche of the character based on what role they'll be playing in the story rather than just in combat? I've been thinking a lot about this lately since I've been designing a lightweight comedy role-playing game based on The Cultists, a mockumentary web show that I created. We're going to be taking a deep dive into this subject, but first let's talk about what's going on. I'm giving away $500 of Cthulhu Horror Elder Dice. These premium polyhedral dice have different Lovecraftian symbols as the highest value on each die, and they're packaged in magnetic spellbook boxes. Sign up at the link below to be part of the drawing and also to know when the campaign for the Cultist RPG is going live. The game is based on The Cultists, a comedy web series about modern-day Lovecraftian cultists just trying to worship Cthulhu and other gods in a world full of people who don't understand. The entire first season is on the Cultist YouTube channel, and now the RPG brings the comedy mockumentary antics of the Cultists to the gaming table. You can download a preview of the rules when you sign up for the drawing. We'll draw for the Elder Dice on the Morning Grind livestream the morning the Cultist RPG crowdfunding campaign goes live. Click the link below to enter. Okay, let's talk about roles and niche protection in our RPGs. What are we talking about? Dungeons & Dragons, for instance, has enshrined the warrior, the wizard, the thief, and the cleric as iconic classes, each with a particular thing that they're good at in combat situations. This ensures the basics are covered and each character has something unique and special about them. It's mainly a combat niche, and some games like 4th edition D&D leaned very heavily into that. But if we want to talk more broadly than just combat, niches might be protected in different phases of the game, such as a ranger having his time to shine during overland travel and exploration, and a bard shining during social encounters. But what if you're running a more narrative-style game? I encountered this idea of narrative roles in the low-stakes RPG by Craig Campbell. He was trying to create a comedy RPG to bring the feel of the show What We Do in the Shadows to the tabletop. In that game, he used the idea of narrative roles to define what niche the character will play in the story. You could think of these as narrative character classes, I think. And sure, in low stakes, you can be a werewolf, a vampire, or a ghost, but that isn't the primary source of your character's powers and abilities. Instead, what's really important, what defines what your character is good and bad at, is their narrative role. This, interestingly, was a lot like how Brianna and I thought about the characters in the Cultists when we were writing the scripts. What role is each one of these characters playing in the narrative? What story elements do we want them to bring whenever that character is on screen? We even talked about something similar on the Table Talk channel when we were talking about Spock, McCoy, and Kirk in classic Star Trek. They play mind, heart, and spleen, and each brings their perspective to each scene that they're in. This allows us to see how they conflict and how they can work together to solve problems. This also happens to align with the theory of story structure articulated by fantasy author Maxwell Alexander Drake in his book Dynamic Story Creation. The point is that the characters, when they're on screen, need to be bringing who they are. When you're telling stories like this, you often get to see what would be internal conversations played out as external conversations between different characters because they represent different parts of the psyche. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are excellent examples of this. In the low-stakes RPG, Campbell comes up with several narrative roles which can represent core character elements in what we do in the shadows. For instance, you could play the instigator. He says, you take joy in poking others, getting them to do things for you, or otherwise manipulating them passively. You're often mildly off-putting and have a hard time developing close relationships. Or you could be the stickler. You're particular about, well, everything. You like things how you like them. You often irritate others to no end, but at least you're reliable. The instigator, for example, is going to have a hard time being honest with someone, avoiding manipulating others, or handing over his power. Whereas the instigator would be good at boring someone into doing something, inciting negative emotions in someone, controlling the room by constantly talking, or ignoring someone to force your point. So, on the Morning Grind live stream, we went through all of the characters on the Cultist web show and determined what narrative role each of the characters in the show fulfilled. We came up with roles including the caretaker, the conflicted, the critic, the elder goth, the fanatic, the grouch, the lackey, the larper, the maverick, the metachronism, the novitiate, and the provocateur. I thought this was a great list of the types of characters that make up an episode of the Cultists. In games, as with stories, it's important to understand what it is that you don't want to duplicate. In the Cultists, having multiple members of the same cult isn't an issue. What we don't want to duplicate is the narrative role the characters are playing. Both Rob and Ben are members of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, but Rob plays the narrative role of the judge, and Ben is the novitiate. Their powers within the story, and now in the game, are determined by the narrative role, and I'm really liking this approach. So there's more that I want to talk about with regard to narrative roles, especially as to how they can be used to represent character change. I think that can be done effectively, but I'm going to save that for another video. So all right, that's what I've been thinking about right now. Let me know your thoughts on this. I do read the comments. Also, sign up below to know when the Cultist RPG campaign goes live and to get in on the Elder Dice drawing. You can also download a preview of the Cultist RPG rules and check them out at the same time. If you're not already subscribed, please hit the button. I would love to have you here on this channel and on the Morning Grind live streams where we're talking about games and game creation. But for now, go forth, be creative, be constructive, and play some games. Cthulhu Fhtagn.